head over to Qnotables.com. It's a centralized index of notable clips, headlines, and references being shared across the community, organized for quick browsing. Use it to spot patterns, pull links, and build your own research list. Qnotables.com. Browse the notables, verify the facts, stay informed. All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
From the Q Research Board's May 18, 2026, good morning and welcome to Qnotables 4AM Talking Points Live. We begin with the top story. Iran is back at the center of the board. President Trump says Iran's clock is ticking and warned Tehran that if it does not move fast, there won't be anything left of them. That message comes as nuclear pressure, military movement, drone threats, and regional instability all stack up at once. The United States has reportedly issued 5 peace ultimatums to Iran involving uranium transfer and nuclear limits, putting Tehran at a direct decision point. The U.S. Air Force airbridge into the Middle East is also showing no sign of slowing. Heavy movement of American transport and support aircraft into the region means equipment, supplies, personnel, and readiness are being pushed forward. This is not idle movement. This is preparation. At the same time, a drone attack near the United Arab Emirates' Baraka nuclear plant sent a strategic warning across the region. Even without a radiation release, a strike near a nuclear site raises the stakes. Iran, its proxies, nuclear infrastructure, U.S. aircraft movement, and presidential ultimatums are now part of the same pressure picture. The drone threat is becoming one of the defining national security problems of this era. Ukraine, Russia, Iran, linked groups, and other actors have shown that drones can hit military bases, energy sites, cities, public events, and even areas near nuclear infrastructure. Cheap drones can create expensive crises. That changes the way governments must defend airspace, power grids, dams, ships, airports, and public gatherings. An underwater bomb found at an Alabama dam adds another layer to the same story. Dams are critical infrastructure. They control water, power, flooding, and public safety. A threat at a dam is not just a local police matter, it is a homeland security issue. The message is clear. America's infrastructure needs serious protection against both old threats and new technology. Now to domestic politics. In Louisiana, Senator Bill Cassidy has lost the Republican primary after President Trump targeted him over his impeachment vote. Julia Letlow and John Fleming advanced, and Trump celebrated Letlow's victory as a major political win. Cassidy's loss sends a message to Republicans who broke with Trump and expected time to erase it. Republican voters have not forgotten. In Kentucky, Trump is escalating his attacks on Rep. Thomas Massie and backing Ed Galrain. Trump called Massie weak and unreliable while Massie pushed back. This race is now about more than one congressional seat. It is about discipline inside the Republican Party. Trump is also putting pressure on Lauren Boebert and Massie as the GOP discipline battle grows. The message is simple: line up behind the agenda or face primary heat. Republicans are also revising White House ballroom and security funding after a meeting with the Senate parliamentarian. The original proposal hit a procedural roadblock over whether the funding could be included in a fast-track bill. Republicans still want security upgrades around the White House, but now they have to find a path that survives Senate rules. The fight is not over. It has moved into the rewrite stage. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is again discussing Washington, D.C. becoming the 51st state and gaining 2 Senate seats. That proposal would reshape national politics. Supporters call it representation. Critics call it a power play. Either way, D.C. statehood remains one of the biggest structural political fights in the country. In California, the political machine is flashing warning lights. California is seeing a surge in Republican ballot returns, with more than 900,000 ballots reportedly already returned. Early ballots do not decide an election alone, but they do show voter energy. If Republican turnout is rising and Democratic turnout is soft, California's governor race and down-ballot contests could become more competitive than expected. California Democrats are also moving against the state's top two primary system after fears that two Republicans could advance in the governor's race. Governor Gavin Newsom says Democrats have a break-the-glass contingency plan if that happens. The timing tells the story. When the rules threaten the people who normally benefit from them, reform suddenly becomes urgent. California also has another corruption case on the board. Dana Williamson, a former top aide connected to Governor Gavin Newsom and former state officials, has pleaded guilty in a federal fraud case involving campaign funds. Prosecutors say money was siphoned through false payments and fake work. This kind of case damages public trust because it shows how campaign accounts, insider relationships, and weak controls can be abused. The American Bar Association's Legal Education Council also voted to eliminate a DEI rule for law schools. The rule had required law schools to show commitment to diversity in recruitment, admissions, and programming. The vote follows pressure from the Trump administration and Republican states against DEI mandates. This is a major institutional retreat from ideology-based accreditation standards. Now to election integrity and institutional trust. The California ballot return story, the top two primary fight, and Newsom's contingency plan all point to the same issue. Election rules matter before a single vote is counted. Ballot systems, primary rules, legal structures, and party control shape outcomes. Comey is also back in the stack with a quote circulating online. I have great confidence in the people down below. Hang on, 2.5 years, then we can rebuild. The reaction shows how little trust remains between the public and the federal security establishment. People hear language like that and ask who is really steering the institutions. AOC is also reportedly speaking behind bulletproof glass. That image says plenty about the political climate. Members of Congress face real threats, but voters also notice when powerful officials live behind protections that ordinary citizens do not have.
At shop.isawaya.com, everything you buy supports Qnotables, the place where people talk freely no matter what. Check out our Qn honey pot, a jar of yummy honey that's as strong as your voice. Put it on toaster and tea. It's not just honey, it's freedom in every bite. Then there's Qn butter, a smooth handmade skin cream that makes you feel good while you fight for what's right. Awesome wood and pieces for display only. Hang them up or set them out. They're for showing off Qn's tough spirit. Want to help even more? Get a proto membership. So go to shop.isawaya.com now and grab some goodies. Help Qnotables keep free speech alive, and let's keep the ideas flowing loud and free.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
From the Q Research Boards, May 18, 2026. Now to international conflict. Moscow was hit by major Ukrainian drone strikes after Russia's deadly attacks on Kiev. Reports say the strikes killed people in Russia and hit the Moscow region in one of the largest drone barrages of the war. President Volodymyr Zelensky defended the strikes as retaliation for Russian attacks that killed civilians in Kiev. This is the war moving deeper into Russia. Ukraine is no longer only holding ground. It is striking inside Russia to raise the cost of Moscow's campaign. Drone warfare is now central to the conflict. A planned European Union move to cut steel imports could also damage a key Ukrainian export. Europe says it supports Ukraine, but trade rules may undercut one of Kiev's major economic lifelines. If Ukraine is expected to fight, it also needs markets, revenue, and industrial survival. China and trade are also back at the center of the board. President Trump is touting historic China deals as wins for American workers and farmers. The White House says China has agreed to major purchases of U.S. agricultural products and expanded trade access. China has also agreed to purchase at least $17 billion in U.S. agricultural products annually through 2028. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer is discussing the status of U.S.-China trade after the Trump-Xi summit. The two sides are working through tariffs, market access, agricultural purchases, investment channels, and non-tariff barriers. Trade with China is not about handshake headlines. It is about enforceable terms, purchases that arrive, and consequences when Beijing fails to comply. The trade map is broader than China. Washington Secretary of State Steve Hobbs is leading an 11-day trade mission to Japan focused on business ties, aerospace, advanced manufacturing, and investment. Japan is a major foreign investor in the United States, and Washington State has deep economic links with Japanese companies. Greece's energy minister praised Trump's energy diplomacy, describing it as a trademark move with allies and adversaries alike. Energy is leverage. Oil, gas, shipping routes, pipelines, and sanctions all shape foreign policy. Mercedes-Benz says it is willing to enter the military production sector if the business case makes sense. That is a serious signal from one of Germany's best-known automakers. Civilian industry is moving closer to defense readiness as Europe faces rising pressure. Afghanistan is back in the human rights spotlight. The Taliban has issued a new family law decree that formally recognizes child marriage in certain cases and includes special rules involving so-called consent for virgin girls. This is a brutal story. Girls in Afghanistan are being pushed further under Taliban control, with courts and male guardians holding power over their futures. The regime is not moderating. It is hardening. Sweden's prime minister also acknowledged the 80,000-plus Indian diaspora and its contribution to Sweden's economy. That statement reflects a broader shift in Europe, where skilled migration, business ties, technology, and demographic change are reshaping national economies. Now to crime and public safety. Austin, Texas went under shelter-in-place alerts after a string of random shootings across multiple locations. Reports say 4 people were injured and suspects were taken into custody after shootings at homes, apartment buildings, and fire stations. A mobile shooting spree creates fear across an entire city. Police moved quickly, but the event shows how fast public order can break down when armed attackers move from place to place. In Italy, Salim El-Khudri drove into pedestrians in Modena, injuring multiple people, several seriously. Italian authorities say the car ramming was not terrorism and pointed instead to psychiatric distress. Bystanders chased and tackled the driver before police detained him. The motive finding matters legally, but the victims remain the center of the story. The cartel and Epstein stories both point to networks. Mexican Senator Enrique Insunza Cazares has been linked in reports to a Sinaloa cartel-related U.S. case. The broader issue is cartel penetration of politics. When cartel networks reach government officials, the problem is no longer just smuggling or street violence. It becomes corruption inside state power. French prosecutors say around 10 new suspected Epstein victims have come forward as part of the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's network in France. Epstein is dead, but the network question is still alive. Who helped him, who looked away, and how many victims were never heard? Former DHS advisor Charles Marino is warning about terror threats facing the United States. The country is dealing with ISIS-linked plots, cartel violence, drone threats, cyber vulnerabilities, and hostile foreign networks. Homeland security is no longer one single threat lane. Terrorism, border security, cyber systems, and critical infrastructure now overlap. The Supreme Court also ruled that a trucking broker can be held responsible for using dangerous haulers. If brokers choose unsafe carriers, they may face consequences when those decisions lead to injuries on American roads. That ruling opens the door to more accountability in the freight industry.
Every voice matters. The power of free speech is more important than ever. Imagine a place where you can share your thoughts freely, explore new ideas, and engage in meaningful conversations anonymously. With online anonymity, you can express yourself without fear of judgment. It's about freedom, creativity, and connection. Join the conversation that matters. Embrace your voice. Celebrate your freedom. Visit 8kun.top today. That's 8kun.top.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
From the Q Research Boards, May 18, 2026. Now to tech, health, and biosecurity. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has funded research involving ticks, including a grant aimed at developing self-limiting cattle ticks for agricultural control. The project centers on tropical cattle ticks and livestock disease. The public concern comes from the overlap of insects, biotechnology, disease vectors, and private global money. People want clear answers when powerful foundations fund work involving organisms that can spread disease. The Gates Foundation has also sold its entire remaining Microsoft stake, unloading its final 7.7 million shares. That ends a long financial link between the foundation and Microsoft stock. It is a major financial shift from one of the world's most watched philanthropic entities. Biosecurity concerns continue with posts about Ebola on a plane, Hanta on a ship, and tick range expansion. The larger issue is how dangerous biological materials, pathogens, animals, insects, cargo, ships, and travel can move risk across borders. The public has basic questions: who approves transport, what safety protocols apply, and what happens when something goes wrong. A WHO global health emergency item also appeared in the stack. After COVID, trust in global health authorities remains damaged. Any emergency declaration will be judged by evidence, transparency, timing, and political context. A study is raising concerns about long-term energy drink consumption and possible heart muscle changes. The findings point to biochemical and structural alterations after sustained intake. Energy drinks are heavily marketed to young people, workers, gamers, athletes, and students. The question is whether routine high caffeine and stimulant exposure is being treated too casually. South Carolina lawmakers are also considering a bill that would authorize over-the-counter sale of ivermectin tablets. The issue has become a symbol of medical freedom after COVID-era fights over treatment access and doctor-patient authority. States are pushing back against centralized medical gatekeeping. Food and public health are also moving into the cultural debate. Steak and Shake is leading a beef tallow charge, moving back toward traditional cooking fat and away from seed oil-heavy food trends. Food quality has become political because Americans are asking what is in their food, who changed it, and why health outcomes keep getting worse. Dr. Oz says, if they'll steal your money, they'll steal your health. That line connects financial corruption with healthcare corruption. Health policy requires integrity because bad incentives hurt families directly. Now to defense, aviation, and infrastructure. 2 U.S. Navy EA-18G Growler jets collided during an airshow in Idaho, and all 4 crew members ejected safely. The airshow was canceled, and the Navy is investigating. The crews survived, but the serious question is what went wrong during a high-visibility military aviation event. Firefighters also worked to contain a brush fire north of the Colorado Air and Spaceport. Brush fires near aviation, transportation, and industrial areas can threaten infrastructure, roads, visibility, and emergency response. Seattle is preparing for World Cup matches, bringing security, transportation, tourism, and city readiness into focus. Big events reveal whether a city can handle pressure or whether existing problems spill into the spotlight. Now to the culture front. A transgender high school track athlete in California, A.B. Hernandez, sparked a podium controversy after sweeping the high jump, long jump, and triple jump at the California finals. A rule allowed girls finishing behind a transgender athlete to receive adjusted placement. The issue is fairness in female athletics, and it is not going away. Julian Assange's quote is also back in circulation, saying the goal of America's wars was to be endless, not successful. That line still resonates after decades of conflict, failed nation building, and massive overseas spending. Americans are still asking whether wars are being fought to win or managed to continue. And now to the closing segment: faith, prayer, and national direction. Rededicate 250 brought a national jubilee of prayer, praise, and thanksgiving to the board. The event ties America's 250th anniversary to faith, gratitude, and national renewal. The White House said thousands gathered on the National Mall for prayer, praise, and patriotism. DHS posted that the nation should be guided by the light of the Savior. That is a direct faith message from a federal department, and it stands out in modern Washington. For believers, it is encouragement. For critics, it is controversy. Either way, faith is back in the public square. Establishment media outlets are reacting strongly to the White House-sponsored Christian prayer event. The event puts faith, patriotism, and public life back at the center of debate. Critics frame it as a church-state fight. Supporters see it as a public return to national prayer and moral seriousness. The outrage itself tells the story. Open Christianity in national civic life still rattles the secular establishment. That closes today's rundown. Iran, drones, domestic politics, election rules, cartel corruption, China trade, biosecurity, public health, sports fairness, and national prayer. This has been Qnotables 4AM Talking Points Live. Share the show, subscribe, and keep digging.
Don'tDeleteMeBro.com. 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 Share the site with others. Don'tDeleteMeBro.com. 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 Share the site with others. Don'tDeleteMeBro.com.
That's all for now. Stay alert, stay informed, and never hand your thinking over to anyone on a screen, including me. God bless you, God bless our troops, and God bless the United States of America. See you soon.